Hello, good morning. I'm a little late turning mine in. I will be honest, I struggled a little bit with Zoom, and I just asked a coworker about how to do it, and she helped me and walked me through it. And I see what I was not getting now. So I'm going to talk about my presentation, and uh, it is an Excel spreadsheet for week 2. And we were given 6 different scenarios to chart and go over in detail. And Miss Benzie's messaging right now. Sorry about that. I want to say Miss Benzie, I don't know if anyone else has had to ask her questions, but I've been very happy and pleased with her response. I believe she goes above and beyond, and thank you. I just hate asking, but I am now going to ask. This was a little bit challenging for me because I've never done an Excel spreadsheet, but I know with time, and I know me, that I'm going to get better at this because I love designing and laying out, and I know I could do so much more once I quit struggling with the cell blocks and the moving around, because when I was trying to move things around, it kept changing on me. So we're going to, I'm going to show you what I did with number 1, and it was about to communicate about outrageously large and small numbers and the density of numbers. And we have here different movements and speeds, miles per hour. We have the Earth rotation, 1037, the Earth orbit, 6700, solar system, and the list goes on and on. And here is our total. Here is the percentages of speed of bodies around us in a pie graph, and you can see that's all in percentages. Let's see, we have here, if I can move this up. Okay, and we were asked to discuss what we found profound or interesting in the Universe Zoom app, and I want to try and stay on track as much as possible, but I'm just like exhausted from the last 2 nights of trying to work on this, but very much happy now that I feel like I am recording and this is going to go through. I found that the Titanic to be profound while using the Universe Zoom app, simply for the reason of the size of the ship, measuring 885 feet and 9 inches in length comparison to the universe. I've always been fascinated with the Titanic for some reason. I know it's a tragic story. I hate that for them. I just couldn't even imagine, and I hate that for them and the families that did survive and lost loved ones. But I do like the Titanic. I've always thought, growing up, it's, when I idolized it, it was very large, and then looking at it through the Zoom Universe Zoom app, it was neat. Everything was neat. It was awesome, and I can't wait to share that with my own kids, the kids in the classroom. I might go do that after this video, actually. And by standing still at the equator of the Earth, we are moving about 444 meters per second due to the spin of Earth. Measurements are important in our daily life and is standard for many things and processes such as weight, temperature, length, height. And without measurements, the world wouldn't be the same as it is. When you think about it, we use measurement for everything: contractors, chemists, scientists, hairstylists, bakers. I mean, the list goes on and on. So imagine how crazy the world would be without any type of measurement. Okay, now number 2, we were talking about identified bias and false reports and misleading information, misleading graphs. And we, the first one here is presidents, and here's Clinton's, and here's Bush's years. And when you look at the unemployment rate percentages over here to the left, it looks like Clinton had a bunch, and Bush not, and so that makes it look like one looks better than the other when they were in office. But when you enter everything correctly in probably the axis and all the data, I mean, you can see that they were, one's really not better than the other, and then you just, I mean, there's a lot of circumstances and things could happen that one did for the other not, and so on. And up here we have bowlers, Diana and Hilda and Emily, and bowling scores of 120 for Diana, 113 for Hilda, 127 for Emily. And by looking at the graph, it looks like Emily is a pro bowler, and Hilda has room for improvement, and Diana is just hanging out. But when you enter everything correctly, you can see here that really there's not that much of a difference. So let's go down here. We have an arena funding. This is one that we used our snipping tool for. And you can see, the city and unknown, Maloofs, I think that's how you say it, AEG. So this is 265 million for the city, 10 million unknown, 85 million Maloofs, and 50 million for AEG. And we put all of that into a pie graph with percentages and percentages cells. Over here, you can see how these are. Well, also, misleading information could be entered into any graph or chart to gain more control over a situation, help an individual or group surpass others in a competition, and unlimited amounts of scenarios could be the case for misleading data. Some reason of why a graph or chart could be misleading, perhaps data is left out, the graph isn't labeled properly, possibly, or maybe software issues took place during the entry of data when someone was entering it, or maybe they had an off day, who knows, they didn't have sleep. So by omitting baselines or axis of a graph, data can be a way of one group can appear superior than the other without the axis used in groups. Data and information can be very misleading. The Couture graph right in here was measured by calculating the area of each circle, and then we calculated what percentage the little circle is of the big circle using the formula for the area of the circle. And then during this assignment, I have learned that charts and graphs could possibly be misleading. Ways that I can be more observant in the future would be to, I'm trying not to say ways that I can be more observant in the future when reading graphs are to look to make sure the graph wasn't labeled improperly, and that might be hard to know if you do not actually know the facts or all the information, but you could take it upon yourself to do your research. There's Google, there's libraries. I mean, it's just depending on what it is and if you want to spend the time and how important it is, Let's see. So just be aware that, there's misleading graphs out there. They do exist. So always be alert when reading a graph. And then we move on to the measure probability of sorting statistics. And sorry, I have your office. And then we are talking about the number of Americans with obesity and type 2 diabetes, and Americans with high blood pressure. Type 2 diabetes are classified as obese. American type 2 diabetes have high blood pressure, 90% right there, and 32.7 of Americans have high blood pressure. 86 of obese people have high blood pressure. 81% American type 2 diabetes are obese with high blood pressure. And we have all of that over here in our chart, the percentages, and the percent of Americans with bend sections. And the data presented in the Venn diagram shows the amount of the percentages of American with type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, those that are obese, and those that have a combination of two or all three. The Venn diagram is used to show relations of overlapping circles, like what we have here. The obese, this is the number of Americans in millions, 206.1, obese, 10 million. Those that are obese in type 2 diabetes, right here, when they're overlapping, that's 3.1 Americans, and type 2 is 1.3 million. And then obese and high blood pressure is 52.5 million. Sorry about that. And there is 27.7 million that have all three. I know that my grandparents on both sides suffered with diabetes. I think that I was pre-diabetic. Well, and I'm probably still am a little bit, but I had to change my eating habits and ways and exercise. And I'm kind of excited about that because I decided about 2 weeks ago that enough was enough, no more sweets. And I know I'm sharing a little bit too much, but I did lose 9 pounds as I weighed myself last night. So that's kind of exciting, being my age and after having all my babies. Yes, my 23-year-old is still my baby. Anyway, so back up here. And, the results could vary depending on what state lived in by stress levels, temperatures, and access to healthy foods. I do believe in that because there are poor states. There might be unemployment rates, or there could be situations of not being able to get access to healthy foods or to eat right, or, in the southern states, they eat more fried food. And anyway, so now we are moving on to number 4, which is we are to observe and describe the distributions of data. And it's the heights of the recruits in inches of Army recruits, and then the heights of random mall shoppers in inches. And we have here, there are 2 sets of data. One gives me the height of the Army recruits in inches, I just said that, and the other gives me the height of all the mall shoppers in inches. The average height of the Army recruits in inches is about 6 feet tall. That is shown by the tightness of the trend line. I hope I'm saying that correctly. And lost my place. I apologize. On the chart, the coefficient of the variation is the measure of relative variability. The ratio of the standard deviation to the mean, the average, and here's a box and whisker plot are the graphs for summarizing the 5 numbers. You have the Q1, Q2, 3, median, minimum, max. So let's see. Number 5 is measure probability by using normal distributed statistics and explore the skewed data. So this is sleep patterns of 217 Duke University scholars. Number of hours of sleep, the mean 6.7, and the standard deviation is 2.03. And if you look at this chart, nice slope there. And we have our data over here. Okay, the mean of the students, I just said it was 6.7 hours, and the standard deviation is 203. And that's all represented right here in the graph. The change of the shape in the shape of the curve depends on the standard deviation. The percentages on the chart show the probability of someone falling into that section. I get about 4 to 5 hours sleep at night. Last night I got an hour of sleep. I'm not complaining. I'm not complaining. I get about 4 or 5 hours of sleep a night, so I fall. I feel like average in the chart if I did that correctly. Here is all our data, and Down here, this is one that we snipped and we were going to use. I didn't really truly understand the families and the income because something, I mean, it's just not right, this chart, I don't believe, and I can't, I don't know if I was focusing too hard on something else. But anyway, I will get better at that. And I hate to even admit this, but number 6, I just could not. But I do know now with, but I tried several different things and I just left it at that. I don't want to say I gave up, but that's looks like what I did. But I do want to say that, and I said this in the beginning of the recording, that Miss Benzie has been above and beyond at messaging me back if I did need something. I try not to ask, but I am going to start asking because I do want to learn this stuff because this was a lot of fun when I was able to understand and get some of this. This was my very first Excel spreadsheet, and believe it or not, these were a lot of my first graphs to use. So I don't think I did that bad, but there is major room for improvement. And now since I know how to do Zoom properly, I am going to submit this. I know it's late. It is what it is. I tried. And while we're talking about it, I do not have any teammates or anything for our next project assignment. If anyone wants to adopt me, or I can start one on my own. And if you want to join me, I promise I will do my best. This, like I said, this is all new to me, and I will do what I can. And if it means staying up 2 nights in a row trying to figure it out, because I didn't want to ask my teacher and bother her, because I just felt that I felt like it was disrespectful to text her, 1 in the morning or 2 in the morning. Anyway, but I'm not going to do that, Miss Benzie. I'm going to message you. All right, well, thank you, and I look forward to this class. It looks like a lot of fun. I just need to understand it a little bit better. All right.